We've got a log jam unblocked. And since this engine and transmission's in the 51 pickup, we're working on the steering column, steering mechanism, power steering lines, and sure enough, we can steer this baby. Daryl here, Sweet Hot Rods and Honey. Thanks for joining me again. Today, we got partial success here. We got the steering column in, and we're currently working on brake pedal and a bracket to hold the swing arm of the brake. And we're gonna put in our power booster and master cylinder. At least we're going to rough it in. We're going to get everything fit in place so that there's no interference, and then once that's done, we're going to pull it out and then continue with the mechanical stuff. But there's a lot of body work to do, so we're going to just get all that stuff out of the way. But I just wanted to make sure we could get everything in here and roughed in. So the steering column is it's a GM style, and it's a 32-inch, I don't know if you can see that, 32-inch tilt plane. So it's not painted, it's not stainless, it's not chromed, but I think I will probably paint it, or maybe I'll clear coat it and just leave it the natural metal color. But we're using 3/4 inch double D rod for our linkage, and we've got a knuckle here, and we've got a knuckle here, but I think, and everything clear, so I'm happy about that. I was concerned about getting the header clearance there. Our shifter linkage should be okay. I've got to make brackets eventually for that, but on this steering linkage, we're gonna have that 3/4 inch double D rod going to another knuckle right here, which is on order, and then another rod down to the rack and pinion. But we've got to use this swivel to hold that horizontal rod linkage in place. So we'll be working on that. I ordered the lines for the power steering. Because this is custom, and I could not find a specific for an LS and this location of the power steering pump. I couldn't find the exact lines, so I got something that I ordered. I didn't receive them yet, but I think they will be long enough and bendable enough that I can get them down here to the two fittings, the low pressure, high pressure side from the pump. So that's going on. Let's see. So the steering column is, I think, oriented pretty well. I put this swivel bracket here, and that should not interfere with anything on the instrument gauges. And I wanted to get it pretty much centered with the gauges, and it is. It's not that far off. So I was thinking about, well, this is going to be light switch, probably wiper switch. There's a hole back here where there was something. I'm going to delete that, weld it. This was the old wiper location. That's going to get welded closed. This is probably going to be ignition. And this, not certain. I'm not certain where I'm going to put the heater controls. May end up going with a vintage air system, and so uncertain about that. But I've got the heater box, and I think it's stock, but I'm not certain. There were extra holes over where the box and the lines were mounted, so it makes me think maybe it's not the 51 original heater box. The location of where I put the hole for the column is right here, is where we've got an angle, and then here, right starting here up, it's a vertical on the firewall. So I think the geometry and the angle of the steering column is going to be fine. I put in, it's not what's going into the truck, but I put that in place, and I set it up height-wise as to where the bench seat's going to sit, and that feels okay. I've got the steering wheel here, and I just wanted to see how it was going to pan out. So I don't know if you can see that angle, but I think that's going to be pretty nice. This is a tilt wheel, so we can adjust that. What I should do before, and it is all going to come out, but what I should do is tilt the wheel up so that we have clearance here. This is I don't know, there's like an inch and a quarter maybe. So I would like to have a little bit more, and I can afford to bring this up another inch. There's enough length there that we can make sure that this clears. So that's that. I'm going to be putting in again this booster and master cylinder, and this is the under dash brake pedal. It's plain Jane. This will mount to the firewall, of course, and then this back edge, I had to cut out this section, and so that it fits and kind of rests on the lip of the bottom of the dashboard down here. And then we'll have to, since these mounting bolts are down here, I'm going to have to make a little cutout, or maybe just a through bolt onto that bracket. So that's what's going on today. There was something else I wanted to show you, but yeah, we'll get to it. Oh yeah, I didn't set the pinion angle yet, and we'll get to that. And so once we set that pinion angle, I can measure for a drive shaft and order a drive shaft. There's a drive shaft shop down in Baltimore City called A1 Drive Shafts, I think. And I've gotten stuff from those guys before, but it's been a few years, so I hope that they're still there. This brake pedal assembly is kind of nice. It's heavy duty. It is powder coated. There's a chip out of that, but it's got multiple adjustable locations of where the pedal's going to hang from. And right now I'm in the process of drilling these 4 holes on the firewall, and the brake booster is going to have this then mounted, the firewall mount, and then brake booster goes on top of this, so it's easy to get the booster on and off. The diagram in the instructions show that the booster goes directly onto the firewall, but I think that's just plain wrong. So anyway, but in this kit, this pedal kit, it's got all the hardware needed: clevis pins, bolts. I'm not sure where these bolts are for. I don't think they're for the firewall. And don't know where I'm going to use this. This is like I don't know if it's a bracket to, make it a little bit more secure, but right now I don't have a use for it. And then they got an extra long linkage from the pedal to the booster. So yeah, it's pretty nice, and it's, let's see, the part number. I believe this was Jag's. There's their part number, if you can see that. And as I recall, it was right around $100, which wasn't too bad. It will work for this application. The one thing I don't like about it is the brake pad, or the foot pad. It'd be nice if it was longer, but with and I guess you could make a different pad, take off this rubber, weld on like a rectangular shape, something that's just a little bit bigger than this small pad. But it's fine. And let me drill out this last hole and I'll show you how things are going to line up. So I was just examining this booster and this little boot that goes on. There's a nice rubber grommet around the edge, and this little lip catches onto that, so it will kind of lock it in place. But I measured the diameter of where I've got to cut a hole into the firewall. That's 2 inches on this booster. On the pedal and that bracket, it's about 2 1/4, roughly. Yeah, it's about 2 1/4. So I've got to mark that, and we'll put a hole in there. It's kind of tough to see that the bracket hole. That's the 2 1/4. So I drilled a hole kind of in the center. But here's our brake pedal. I had a dilemma. I couldn't put it on the right-hand side where normally would be the steering column, because then there's not enough room for the throttle, the accelerator pedal. So I put it here, and it's hanging, like I said, it's hanging off the bottom of this, of the dashboard, and mounted up there. So I think at the firewall, we're in good shape. There should be plenty of room for the booster and master cylinder. Shouldn't interfere with anything over here. This hole is going to get filled in, deleted. That's where wiring came through on the stock. So I think that's okay. But the height of the pedal from the floor is a little bit high. I mean, I'll be able to hit it, but but it's going to take either a 2-footer, brake, but I don't know. It would be nice if it was a little bit lower, and I don't think there's any way to extend it without welding on another bracket up there. So I'm hoping that this amount of throw is going to be enough. The booster is for, or the master cylinder is intended for a disc drum setup. Well, I have disc in the front and disc in the back. I bought the master cylinder before I bought this rear end, and this rear end already had the disc brakes on it. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a try. I hope they don't have a problem with the brakes dragging. Well, I guess if the back was intended for drum, the brake, the drum would release more. And so I think on the discs, it releases, but it doesn't travel very far away from the disc and the pad. So I think it's going to be okay. And the main braking force is going to be in the front anyway. So, all right, I'm going to cut this hole and then mount the master brake and booster and see how it looks. Well, I got the hole cut and it's 2 inches, but I kind of screwed up because the brake booster is going to be sitting on top of these standoffs, which doesn't, well, it's messed up. I screwed up, but I may have a solution. This hole's too big for this this grommet, I guess, but I may be able to use this grommet that I had downstairs. I think this might work. I think, yeah, it's gonna work. So let me put these standoffs on, and then we'll try this all together. Get this off. And I like using these, like I said, because it will allow you to remove the master cylinder, brake cylinder, and master and the boost without having to take apart the whole brake pedal assembly, which that would happen. So let's see. Let's get these guys on here. Now, while I was working on this, whole delivery came, and that is for the transmission cooler lines. I bought the kit, said it's a 7-foot length, so it's a feed in to return, and so that should work. And it's I think it's by Evil Energy, and I tried the fittings on the transmission. I don't know what those fittings are, but on the radiator, they work fine. There's a 90-degree AN6, and I don't know what that other side is exactly, but it works. So I was happy about that. At least we got something that's fully successful today. All right, let's see. Okay. I'm gonna put these on the inside. Too wide to go through that here. Come down. Take it on the inside. Okay. Yeah, that's changing. Hold just. So let me do this. Stop doing. And look at this. I'm hoping that just put down the hinges. They'll put it. Aren't a problem. We're going to go over just another bit. But nice. Get here. Joe. All right. So there's the standoff, and then the master cylinder is going to be out here. There's not going to be anything in the way of that. No interference. On the inside, it looks pretty decent. And it's really hard to see. I apologize for that. Let's see if I can get this light from the drill. Oh, there we go. So it's just slightly oversized on this lip. I can probably put that rubber grommet around there and seal it up. So, oh well, screwed it up. So there it is, master cylinder, booster, everything is just finger tight. So that's why we've got it wobble here. The bracket will be a major support for the weight hanging down on the master cylinder. But yeah, this is turning out pretty decent. Let me know what you guys think. I might leave this the natural color and just clear coat it. It doesn't look too bad. The interior is going to be black cherry, so that combination might be okay. Or I might paint it black to match the fenders. And I was thinking about making this dash two-tone, this part black cherry, and then where the radio goes over into the glove compartment, have that something else. So maybe if that's black, or I don't know yet. So if you have an opinion or any suggestions, put them in the comments section, please, and I'll think about it. As far as the booster and the master cylinder, I always clear coat the booster and the cap, and then I'll probably paint the master cylinder black. I have caliper and black paint for calipers, so that would work okay on that master cylinder. So yeah, it's coming along. Nothing much more. I guess the next thing I'm going to tackle is setting this pinion angle and welding in the brackets. That'll be the next video. I think that steering column has a decent angle to it. It should be fine. Oh, and I did check the tilt. It tilts from here up. So the shifter does not tilt. That's pretty much stationary. I just dropped off my transmission. No. I found a drive shaft shop that will do transmission. I found a shop up in Street, Maryland that'll make a drive shaft for me. And I brought them all the parts that I currently have. And so he's going to make me a new drive shaft. Take a few days. And we're at Moxley's welding and machine shop, and I talked to Scott there. So these guys are pretty nice to work with, and I'm happy that I found a place that'll make me a drive shaft. Well, Moxley's really surprised me. They called me the next day, Scott up there, and he said, your drive shaft's ready. So I was on my way home from playing golf on Thursday, and it's Friday right now, and I picked up the drive shaft. So let me just show you this. Everything looks great. I provided the yoke, and they put on new universals, new yoke joint here, all new tubing, and I provided the plate then that bolts onto the pinion plate. And they put new universals on here, so I'm pretty happy. It was so darn quick, and the price that he quoted me was cheaper, or the price that he quoted me, the extra cost was cheaper than that quote, so I was pretty happy about that. So that was a nice surprise. So getting back over here to the truck and some of the lines that I'm working on, trying to lay out this transmission cooler line, and I'm going to use AN fittings and connections, and that's a braided reinforced high pressure line. I found the fittings that go onto the 4L65, and these are quarter NPT threads, AN6. And so I was going to use this, I was going to try to directly connect it, but the angle is just not right. So I just ordered a 45-degree female, connects to this nipple, and then there's a 40, and then there's a AN6 nipple on the end that this will tie into. So I got 2 of those. That should clear everything underneath, and then I can get the length for this hose, which will go up to the radiator. And I don't have the core support in right now, but I have the radiator here. And I have these AN6 90-degree elbows on. So that will get tied in. So I can't really, at this time, I don't want to cut those lines yet. I'll have to put the core support in and get the length of this hose. So that was that. And then the other thing that I was trying to finish up was a steering linkage. And I'm almost there. I cut these, well, this just came, I ordered that, and it just came yesterday, this universal. And so I got the double D rod cut, and I think it's a good length. It shouldn't be difficult to service if I've got to pull out these rods on either side. So the one thing I don't have completed is this plate for this little swivel. So this plate, I made it up. It's a piece of scrap that I had cut off from the motor mount bracket. And so I've got to weld this in, and that's going to be lifted just a little bit. And I want to have this opening on this side so that if I've got to take the swivel off, I'll be able to access it from the wheel side of the frame and not on the engine side where it will be more cramped. But we've got good clearance at that bracket for the motor mount. And we have, I think it's going to be okay clearance. I might have to trim that nut down right at the header. It's kind of close, but I might have to move the steering column over just a little bit so that that nut clears the header. So I'll have to buzz out a little bit more of that. There's going to be a plate on the inside, the interior, and then there's going to be a bracket here to clamp that in place. So even if on the inside we've got a bigger gap, we're going to have a trim plate that's going to go and seal off and hold the steering column from shifting up and down. And then this bracket also pinches that steering column. So I think we're going to be okay there. And then the one last thing, and it's still not complete. I ordered it was a steering, power steering pump hoses, and I thought that I could use ones that were on a Jeep. I forget what the year was, it doesn't matter. So I ordered them, they came, and they just weren't going to work out. The angles and the length of the hose and just the way they were going to connect on I scrapped that idea, so I sent them back, and we're going to go with AN fittings here again, AN 6s. And so there's going to be on the low pressure side an AN 6 fitting. On a it's going to be high pressure stainless steel hose, and it will tie into this low pressure return, pump return side, and that's just going to be a clamp on. But then on the high pressure side, actually this is the high pressure side, the smaller low pressure side. High pressure side is going to go to this, where this hose is going into the pump. I've got to remove this, and what I don't know exactly is this fitting size. And so when I determine that, when I pull that out, I'll know what fitting to use, but it's going to be an AN 6. And I do have I have it on order. It's a high pressure fitting that is going to mate to that high pressure hose. So that's still in work. But for now, I think I'm going to close out this video because it's rambling on a little bit too long. So that's what the current status is with once we got the engine in and set up, we could make a lot of headway on in many fronts. The hoses for one, the drive shaft. So I just wanted to show you that, and there'll be more follow-on videos. We'll certainly get back to the finished products and those finished those pieces. So, but for now, I want to say thanks, and if you haven't, if you could hit the like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. We're still shooting for 600 subscribers by the end of March, and we're getting close, but not quite there. So if you could just hit that subscribe button, I really appreciate it. All right, that's it for now, and we'll be seeing you the next time. Thanks a lot.